Hi guys, Lindsay here with Storybook Family Farm. So the last few days have been incredibly busy. We actually had the only market that we're doing this year. We had that on Saturday, which really put a big, I don't necessarily want to call it a wrinkle in our plans, because we knew that we were going to do this. We had been planning on it for months and things of that nature. But it really put us far behind. So with doing markets, it eats up a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of mental focus, and like a lot of time. Like that's the biggest thing, is it takes up a lot of time, which I'll discuss why we don't do farmers markets anymore in a future video. So definitely be on the lookout for that, where I will get into the nitty gritties of why we stopped doing this. But basically, the weekend went really well on Saturday. The rendezvous did, for those of you wondering. But it put us really far behind on getting homesteading projects done. So yesterday, Tracy and I had to basically, all the things that we would have done and taken like 2 days to get done, we pretty much had to do it all yesterday because Saturday was eaten up completely by doing that market, which is fine. We had a great time. But so it made it so that way yesterday we pretty much overextended ourselves beyond belief, and we got a lot done, but we're exhausted. But it also makes it so that way I have a million things that I have to get done this week in compensation for losing days last week of being able to get things done outside, which is going to be really hard because it's supposed to be almost 90 degrees today, which I'm not looking forward to. I do not do well in the heat, especially when it's really sunny. And today, everything that I have to do today is actually in the sun, in the heat, and it's going to be a doozy. So what we got done on Sunday was we actually got all of the grass mowed. And I did use the bagger attachment on our mower so that way I could pile it all up to start drying it to make some yard hay for us, which is, it's not necessarily good for the goats. They can eat it. It's not going to harm them or anything. It doesn't have high nutrient quality to it. So what we make the yard hay for is actually for the rabbits for the wintertime, because the rabbits, they really eat a lot less pellets if you are able to harvest them fresh grass. That's why we raise most of our rabbits in rabbit tractors, which that's on my list of things I need to do, is build 3 more rabbit tractors for the rest of our rabbits that aren't in tractors, which that is not going to be done this week, even though I wish that I had the time and the energy and the stamina and the strength to do that. It's just, there's way too much going on because I have other things to do, which I will get into in a minute. The other thing that we did yesterday was we deep cleaned the barn, which we've been needing to do that for a hot minute because it's just been, really super wet. We couldn't get a wheelbarrow back there because our property is very super wet. So we figured out a way to reroute from the barn to make it so we didn't have to walk through extremely thick mud to clean it out, which I was kind of amazed by how much there was in there. So we do the deep litter method of bedding down the animals and things throughout the wintertime. And we would have ideally liked to have been able to clean out the barn, I would say probably 2 months ago. Or a month ago, but that wasn't in the cards for us because of how the weather was. So I'm going to show you guys, it's going to get loud because I have to walk by the ducks and geese. I'm just going to show you guys how much material we ended up doing, so then that way I can tell you my plans for it. So I'll just show you and then talk after I walk away. Okay, now I'm walking away so that the geese stay quiet. Run away from the noisy geese. This is the hay that we cut. I have it all flattened out, spread out so it'll dry faster. I'll keep on walking. I have to be very strategic where I film at now because the geese are so noisy. And then up by where the turkeys used to be raised, up past that camper there, we have a whole bunch of young chickens, and the cockerels, they found their voice, so they're crowing all the time now. So it's kind of, if you guys get tired of seeing the same scenery, it's because I only have a couple places that are quiet enough that I can film. So what I'm going to do with all of the bedding from the barn is I'm actually going to try to create a garden back in that area, an experimental garden, because of everything being so wet on this property. I think that the only way to really grow food here is actually to create like raised beds where I'm raised up. And because we do want to move eventually from here, I don't want to take the time and the effort and the energy to build raised beds in our garden, because also we have to get our septic replaced. So I'm concerned that because our garden is right by the septic, that if I build raised beds, that I'm going to have to take them apart this year at some point in the next couple of months. So then that way the excavators and things can work in the yard. I don't know when that's happening. I know that it's through a grant at the county, so we're not in control of when they do it, how they do it, anything of the sort like that. So I'm kind of in scrambles trying to figure out what I should do, where I should put everything, because honestly, I don't know how much space they're going to have to take up. I don't know how much they're going to destroy the yard. So I decided to create an experimental garden bed back there with all of the manure. So goat manure, it's all cold manure. You can put plants directly into the goat manure and things of that nature. It's just like rabbit poo. So it's a very good growing medium. And then with all the spent hay and all the moisture and things of that nature, it should kill off the grass that's underneath of there. I don't really know. This is all purely experimental. But so what I'm planning on doing in that area, and which I don't know on camera how large it looked, it's probably about 15 by 25 foot. I'd have to measure it for sure, but I would guess that's how big it is. That area, even though right now in the morning it's in the shade right now, just like where I'm sitting at. In the mid-morning, late morning, something like that, it becomes in full sun. That is the area that I had actually thought about putting a greenhouse if we were planning on staying here long term, because it is out of the way. I have no idea what that noise is. I hope you guys can't hear it. It's out of our way, and it is a very sunny spot, and there's not very many places like that here. So I'm going to try to grow some pumpkins and different squashes simply for animal feed. Our goats, they absolutely adore pumpkins. So do the chickens. So it's a very good feed thing for them. And it also will store for a long time, so we can keep it in the basement for, most of the winter and just keep giving them snacks and treats throughout the entire season. So that's what I'm going to try to grow there. I might also try to throw some potatoes in there just to see how they do, because I've heard about doing the Ruth, oh my God, I cannot speak. Ruth Stout method of growing, and I've seen that done a lot with potatoes. So I'm going to experiment with it, because this is kind of a really good time of year and a good year for us to play around with things, to experiment, because honestly, if we were to find a place tomorrow to move to, we probably would start packing everything up and trying to, buy a different homestead, because like you guys have seen in videos, there's not enough space. It's quite loud here. The road is loud. It's just not what we want. But so it's a good setting for us to really experiment a lot and play around with different methods of growing and stuff, to try to also figure out what works in such a wet area, because honestly, I've never grown food in an area that is as wet as this property is. So it's all pretty much an experiment for me. And this way I can sort of just finagle around with some other different growing methods, just to simply see what I like, what works well, and maybe different ways that we can start a new garden at our new place in the following year or 2 years or whenever it happens. So yeah, a lot has happened, but I do have to build the duck and goose coop this week, because of the fact that I think that we have a goat that's probably going to give birth pretty soon, just based off of talking with other goat owners at the rendezvous that was on Saturday, and just trying to figure things out to nail things down for sure. But I really got to get the ducks and geese out of the barn so that way they can, have their own space. But this weekend we also put the ducks and geese in the garden so that way they can help with the slug problem and sort of try to help get different things squared away in there. But yeah, it's been chaos, and that noise that's coming from behind me, which I don't know if you guys will be able to hear. It sounds almost like somebody's using a bunch of saws. It is distracting me like nobody's business. Like the joys of having ADHD on a noisy homestead, I suppose. But yeah, so I'm going to get busy because I have to run to Menards. I have to get materials for building that. I have a million things that I have to get done today, and it's supposed to be almost 90 today. So I'd like to get everything done as fast as possible. So I'm going to cut this video off here. I'm sorry if there's loose ends that didn't get tied up in this video because of getting distracted by, the turkey boys, the noise behind me, the traffic. Yeah, the joys of being easily distractible, I suppose. So if you guys are enjoying my content, please give this video a thumbs up. Share it with your friends on social media, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to help us grow. We'd greatly appreciate it. All right, thanks for watching. Have a good one, guys.